Alrighty, welcome everyone to our How to Study for Russian workshop. I am Myrna and I am an academic coach at the Learning Center. I am not fluent in Russian, but I do speak Spanish, French, and English fluently. I was actually born in Mexico, and so Spanish is my first language. I picked up English when we moved to the US. I was about 6 years old, and for about 10 years now, I've been studying French. I'm also a graduate student at PSU, so besides being an academic coach, I also study at PSU. Katie is our Russian tutor. Now let her introduce herself.
I am Katie Reiter. I'm the Russian tutor. I've been studying Russian for the last 6 years. I'm also a flagship student at the PSU Russian flagship program. English is my first language. My family speaks only English, but I decided that, studying a foreign language is really important, and I loved Russian, so I went ahead and kept on studying that. Currently, I'm finishing up my bachelor's degree at PSU, but I'm also taking part in a study abroad program, which right now looks like a lot of Zoom classes since we're in the middle of that global pandemic. But I am studying with the Russian flagship program in Kazakhstan.
All right, so really quickly before we start our presentation, I just want to let you know of the few Learning Center services that we offer. Of course, we were doing on-campus tutoring before the pandemic. Unfortunately, we are not doing that for the winter 2021 term. We are only doing online tutoring as well as online academic coaching sessions. We also offer Roads to Success presentations throughout the term. There is also a college success course being offered through the Learning Center. And as I've mentioned, academic coaching and academic coaching services. In fact, all of the services offered through the Learning Center are free for PSU students. So the objectives of today's workshop are to understand the importance of the study cycle in relation to learning Russian. We also hope that you can identify specific active learning strategies that are applicable to your Russian courses. And we want you to feel prepared and to be able to apply these strategies to your coursework. So today we'll be discussing the study cycle. The study cycle is a very effective tool. It's a very effective approach to studying, and we'll go over each step individually. So the first step is to preview. The way in which you can preview the material is by pre-reading before class, pre-exposing yourself to the material. This could look like skimming the chapters, the articles, or any of the reading assignments that you might have beforehand. So taking a look at the titles, the subtitles, the summaries, the chapter objectives, the images, the graphs, anything like that, just pre-exposing yourself to the material, and then also writing any preliminary questions that you might have so that you can ask them during class. You will also want to ensure that you check your syllabus, especially right now that it's the beginning of the term. Go over the syllabus, take note of when your professor's office hours will take place, take note of any big due dates that you will have, any of the main objectives for the course. That way you are aware of what you will address in your Russian courses. And this is important because when you pre-expose yourself to the material, you essentially will set up yourself for success. Your brain will be aware of the information beforehand, so you'll be able to retain it for longer and throughout the course.
Yeah, and what does this look like specifically for Russian? Like you said, reading assignments are assigned lessons before class, so you can underline and look up unfamiliar words, and then preparing questions to ask while you're in class.
Alrighty, so step number 2 in the study cycle is to attend. Now, of course, this looks different today during a global pandemic. So you might not be able to traditionally attend class and go to the PSU campus and be present that way. But you can show presence and you can show active participation in other ways. So what you want to do is you want to make sure to go to class. There are some courses that do meet through Zoom. So if you are in one of those Russian courses that are meeting through Zoom, do make sure to attend. And while you're in class, ask any questions, participate in any of the discussions or any of the activities. And you want to make sure that you all have your camera on. You hold yourself accountable if your camera is on. You know, when you turn off your camera or when you're not attending class with your camera on, it's easy to get distracted. So you want to make sure that your camera is on and that you choose the speaker view so that you can stay engaged and so that you can stay focused. You also want to use the chat or raise hand functions to ask any questions. You can also unmute yourself if you really are struggling and ask a question. Just make sure that you're not interrupting your professor while they are lecturing. Find the appropriate time to ask the questions. If your classes are not meeting through Zoom, you can also show attendance by being actively engaged in D2L. So if one of your classmates posts a question and you know the answer, reply to your classmate. Or if they post a comment and you agree or you disagree, reply and share your opinion. And this way your professor will see that you are actively engaging. You can also attend by meeting with Katie or any of the Russian tutors that perhaps are being offered through your courses, or also by meeting with your professor on their office hours, anything like that. Attending is important because it will help you stay engaged. Right now it's hard. We often lose motivation. We often feel Zoom exhaustion. But if you're actively engaged and you're actively attending, then you will be able to retain that information and understand that information.
Yeah, and when studying a foreign language, it's really important to stay engaged. With Russian classes, be sure if you have a question, chances are someone else probably has the same question, so don't be afraid to ask. And then just always making sure to show up to class, even if you're not really feeling it. It's going to be better for you in the long run just to attend class and get that extra exposure to the language so that you don't fall behind.
And if by any chance you can't attend a Zoom lecture, let your professor know. Keep in touch with your professor, let them know. Again, this goes a long way. It shows that you are being proactive as a student and that you are being engaged as best you can. Now, another step in the study cycle is to review the material. You want to make sure that you review within 24 hours. Reread and rework your notes if necessary. Identify any gaps in your comprehension. Identify any gaps in your notes. And make sure that you take note of any lingering questions that you might have. So also consider your learning style when reviewing. You want to make sure that your note-taking system works for you, and if it doesn't, acknowledge where you might improve your note-taking strategies. The reason why you want to review information is because studies show that reviewing your notes within a few hours after classes actually considerably increases your retention rate and your understanding of the material, especially again because learning a language remotely is very difficult. You want to make sure that you are as successfully and as effectively reviewing your material. So the reason why you also want to review is because you will forget information. Within the first day of newly learned information, you actually lose 20% of that information just within the first day. So you only retain about 80% of newly learned information. But as you can see, this graph shows that the more you review, the longer you will retain that information. I would also argue that the more substance you retain. So reviewing is very important, especially for a language as hard as Russian. You want to make sure that you're reviewing how well you're pronouncing the words. You want to make sure that you are reviewing vocabulary terms, that you are reviewing the Russian alphabet. I don't speak Russian, but anything that is going to help you be as successful as you can in your Russian courses, you want to make sure you review that. Now, in order to successfully review, you also need to understand who you are as a student and how you learn best. So are you a visual learner? Do you need to, connect words/vocabulary terms to pictures or symbols, or do you need to write down concepts and ideas and create essentially like a test for yourself that you need to answer, or do you like to transcribe Russian text into English or vice versa? Are you an auditory learner? Do you need to talk through the material and give many presentations as you're learning? Or do you need to be physically active while you're learning? Keep in mind how you learn best and apply those learning strategies to your Russian courses so that you can be as successful as you can be. There is a learning style assessment available through the Learning Center website that you can access. Feel free to take that assessment test so that you can essentially figure out who you are as a student and how you learn best. Now, also keep in mind that while you're reviewing, you make sure you're taking the notes, that best work with how you learn. So do you enjoy Cornell notes, or do you prefer more of, bullet point note style, or do you need to or are you more of a visual learner and do you need more images to connect to a central idea? Again, keep in mind of how you learn best and what works best for you, and apply that to your Russian courses.
Yeah, and when taking notes for Russian courses, however you decide to take your notes, however you decide to organize your own notes, sure always to write down any unfamiliar vocabulary words, pay attention to key phrases that the professor repeats, because they're always going to be good to learn. And then I always recommend to people that they have some sort of key for cases and case endings somewhere that they can access quickly, so they're not trying to flip through a textbook when they're trying to figure out what a certain case ending might be.
Alrighty, so another step in the study cycle is to actually study. So try to make any passive study strategies into active ones. So repetition is key, especially for a language. Make sure you're repeating vocabulary terms so that you can retain that sound and that pronunciation. Take practice tests. You can use Quizlet. You can use online gaming tools or language apps, anything like that. Be as creative as you can with your study habits. And you also want to use the provided study guides or create your own, like Katie mentioned, sort of have something that you can reference. And some people enjoy studying alone, but if you are finding that you're not being as active with your courses or with your study sessions, you might consider, creating study groups with your classmates. Or you might also consider meeting with Katie, our Russian tutor, so that you can be, again, as successful in your Russian courses. Also check in with your professor. I do highly recommend that you meet with your professor at least once throughout the term, preferably 3 times throughout the term. You might want to drop in during their office hours or just send them a quick email, anything that shows that you are being as active as you can in their courses. And the reason why this is important is because exams, for the most part, are focused on output. So it's important to practice processing information in that way. Working with others can also help clear up any confusion. If you are going to create any study group, if you are going to create study groups, I would encourage you to keep it to 1 to 2 people. Studying in groups bigger than that is sometimes can sometimes backfire. Sometimes you might not be as successful. So try to keep your groups in a size of 3 or so that you can really review what you need help with, and you can really quiz each other and be as substance-based as you can. So I sort of touched a little on passive versus active study strategies. So essentially, passive strategies are study strategies such as reading or listening to a lecture or watching a video. You are studying and you are learning, but this is more so focused on input. Ways in which you can make your study habits active is by focusing more so on output. So anything that allows you to produce content. And you can be active by taking practice tests, or by creating note cards and quizzing yourself with those note cards, or by studying with a friend or a tutor. Again, be as active as you can be, because active strategies are actually proven to be far more effective in helping you retain information for longer.
Yeah, and when studying Russian, practice reading aloud. Might seem a little silly, sitting in your apartment or your house just reading aloud, but it's going to help your pronunciation in the long run, and it's going to help your reading skills. Find a friend or a group to study with, or come see me. I'm more than happy to practice speaking with you, practice going over some homework or something, or checking in with a professor. And then I recommend finding an additional source to help you practice your Russian. So music, TV shows, movies, reading short stories, reading the news, depending on your level. It's just going to offer a different way to study Russian. It might be a little more fun than just running drills.
Alrighty, and another step in the study cycle is to assess. So periodically check in with yourself and do so in a constructive manner. What is working? What is not working? What could you change or improve? And also go over any missed questions on your tests or your quizzes to really be mindful of what it is that you're just not understanding. Want to assess how you are learning and how well you are learning, so that you can set yourself up for success by really going over how you can improve as a student and as a Russian learner. You want to organize your study time and also assess how your study sessions are working. So reflect on your system, and also reflect on how well you're self-managing yourself. Consider also structuring your study sessions, and we'll go over a structured study session in just a moment. The reason why you want to assess is because checking in with ourselves, we're actually able to recognize which areas are strength areas and which are growth areas. When you are learning a language, you will be a learner for life. You always have room to grow. You always have room to improve as a Russian learner. So keep that in mind. You're never going to achieve 100% success with a language, but you shouldn't be afraid of that. Instead, you should use that as something that fuels you to be a better learner every day, a better Russian speaker every day. Organize your time as well, so that you can reduce stress, and so that you can stay on track of any goals that you might have. Is the goal to get an A in your Russian course? Is the goal to be able to move to a Russian-speaking country and be a successful speaker, and really understand the colloquial terms? Anything, just keep in mind what your overall goal is, so that you can be as successful as you can with Russian.
Yeah, and when studying Russian, obviously consistency is really important. When studying any language, consistency is important. You want to study with intention, track your progress while you're studying. Pay attention to what you're really confident on, what you still need to work on, assess whether the study methods you're utilizing are effective. So if sitting down and reading the study guide over and over and over isn't helping, then maybe move on to a different study technique, like flashcards, Quizlet, something like that. And then reference your quizzes and exams to determine where you can improve. That's really important when learning a language, because no matter what's on your exam, it's going to come up again in your Russian learning. I can promise you that. So if you didn't do well on a section on an exam, it's not over. You still need to practice that.
Alrighty, so ways in which you can structure a study session. So what you want to do is take a moment, about 2 minutes or so, to set a goal. I encourage you to write that goal down on your notebook, or however you take notes, whether that be online or whatever. Just set a goal. I'd encourage you to set a process goal. So a process goal is going to be essentially an action step that you take in order to reach your outcome goal. If the outcome goal is to get an A in your Russian essay, in an essay that was assigned in your Russian course, then the process goal might be to write 5 pages during this study session. Something like that. It might be to read 5 or 10 pages during that study session. Anything like that. Just set a goal so that while you are studying with intention. You are studying with focus. Dedicate 30 to 50 minutes. If you think that 30 to 50 minutes is too much time being focused, then alter that. Do 25 to 45 minutes. As long as you are studying with intention for a set amount of time, you are going to be far more successful, because you will be completely focused on that one goal, whether that be to write 5 pages or read 10 pages. Use any sort of tool that will help you be more successful. So it could be a language learning app or a YouTube video. Incorporate whatever will help you be as successful as you can. Just be creative with your studies. And then take about 10 to 15 minutes to reward yourself. Take a break, just get up, stretch, take a walk, eat your favorite snack, grab a coffee, listen to your favorite Russian music, whatever it is, just take a quick break. I would actually encourage you, if you can, to step away from your computer or step away from the TV. Do anything that will give your eyes a break. We're on our computers all day now. So I would really encourage you to just look outside, or, get a breath of fresh air, anything. Just give yourself a break from being on screen. And then finally, you want to review. Take about 5 minutes to go over what you've just covered and return to your goal. Did you successfully meet your goal? Did you write those 5 pages? Why or why not? Really reflect and be honest with yourself. Were you distracted and did you not meet your goal because you had your phone nearby? Then maybe next time keep your phone in a separate room so that you can successfully write 5 pages next time.
And obviously, you don't want to procrastinate. I know it's really hard not to procrastinate, but just try and keep that in mind. Try and just get your work done, and then you'll have time to relax afterwards. And then the biggest thing I always recommend to people, because I personally struggled with it when I started learning Russian, was be sure to practice your cases. Those are never going away. You use them a lot, so just make sure that you get those down.
Alrighty, so hopefully you were able to follow through and understand how to successfully structure your study sessions and how to implement the study cycle into your Russian courses so that you can be as successful as possible in your courses. Again, want to take the moment to really understand that learning is within your control. Learning Russian is within your power, and you can do it. Just keep in mind of why you started learning Russian in the first place. What motivated you to pick up Russian? And then use that to fuel yourself so that you can be as successful with your Russian courses. If you still have, some trouble staying focused, or you want some more support, feel free to meet with an academic coach or a tutor. Meet with me or Katie. Meet with anyone that will help you be as successful as you possibly can be throughout your time at PSU. Meeting with me or Katie will help you develop self-management strategies, study strategies, and also can give you motivation tips as well. And you can reach us by going to the Learning Center website. You'll find our information there as well. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to contact us. You'll find our information through the Learning Center website. But otherwise, my email is mnahera2@pdx.edu. That's mnajera2@pdx.edu.